Security standards coming in hot. Microsoft password security, not so hot. And just like food, AI needs to list its ingredients. All these stories and more on today's episode of MSP Dispatch. Good morning and welcome to the April 12th episode of MSP Dispatch, your source for news, community events, and commentary in the MSP channel. My name is Tony Francisco, joined by my co-host, Mr. Josh Hohbein. Josh, how are you doing? This is our first time actually hosting. I'm trying to figure out which side you're on. This is our first time co-hosting together. I was like, hey, I've seen you before. You've seen me before. Hi, nice to meet you, but I can't I can touch you if I
Close. There we go. It's the camera's mirrored, so it's kind of weird. Yeah, I'm doing great. We're going through the end of fourth winter, coming into second spring here. So it's like a nice 50 degrees with 50-mile-an-hour wind. And
where are you located?
I'm in South Dakota, so we have multiple winters and multiple springs and a short summer.
You can see from my background that I am also in a very cold environment here in Florida.
Yes.
And so just for everyone's edification, Josh, where you're actively a part of the MSP Media Network. What other shows have you been on?
MSP Community Live. I've been on that one a handful of times. And I believe I will be coming up on wins and losses here shortly. So this is my MSP Dispatch debut. So hopefully I don't mess it up.
Nice.
Luckily, this one's edited, so you can edit all of the mess ups out.
But can they? They never do. They keep them and they put them at the end of the show, and so you just hear nothing. It sounds like because they do the beeping over the swearing, and it sounds like Morse code. It's like beep 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 beep. Okay. With that, everyone, we're giving you what you want. The news. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. In my first story from MSPalert.com, CISA is saying that more than 300,000 small entities covered by proposed cyber reporting regulation. In a story from D. Howard Cast, the proposed Cyber Incident Reporting Critical Infrastructure Act, that's CIR-CIA, mandates reporting regulations for small entities, which will impact over 311,000 organizations. Under the proposed regulations, covered entities must report major cyber incidents to CISA within 72 hours and ransom payments within 24 hours to enable CISA to assist cybercrime victims and analyze trends. However, compliance may pose challenges due to associated costs and complexities. CISA estimates it would cost non-covered entities an average of $33.58, that's US, and covered entities $4,139.60 US for each cyber incident. This includes expenses for understanding the rule, preserving data, and reporting. Although the law might not take effect until 2025 and 2026, MSPs and MSSPs need to take note because of their crucial role in supporting small businesses and ensuring compliance. Josh, I absolutely not just condone, but I love when government level engagement is imposing standards, regulations that are for the betterment of everyone, especially regarding security. In this particular case, maybe a little too much pepper, just a little too much pepper, just a little too spicy. One of the things that is noted in this particular article is it's saying, hey, listen, if you want us to help you, you need to address reporting in 72 hours, cyber incidents within 72 hours, and ransom payments within 24 hours. My question is, what are cyber incidents? Are we talking about, hey, my Ubiquity UDM Pro picks up about 11,000 hack attempts an hour? Do I have to report all of those? Do I have to report, I'm just throwing this one out there, someone accidentally gave out their username and password, someone online, and someone logged in, nothing happened, but it's an incident. So what is the gradient of major cyber incident. What does that mean? What are your thoughts on this? And did we go too far on this, or is this not far enough?
I mean, I think the reason that it's that specific time frame is there's an issue right now with like sharing the information, reporting it, because there's so many of it going on that if they don't have that information, ready, then basically it's impossible to track them. And then the other side is when you get like things like Cyberinsurance involved, and sometimes with that, then lawyers get involved, and then it's the attorney-client privilege, and you're not able to share those specifics. So then the people fighting this behind the scenes aren't able to get those IP addresses or ways that they have attacked and things like that. And then they're just scotch free to go on to another business to compromise. So imposing these super strict guidelines are just trying to make it better and trying to make the fight against the evil ransomware gangs a little better. Because I mean, let's face it, like, even though it is a government agency and the business and everything, like, we're all on the same page, right? Unless you're one of the people doing the cyber crimes or the ransomware gangs, regardless of who's saying you should do this, like, regardless of us being different MSPs or competitors, we're all on the same page here. We're trying to secure infrastructure. So I'm okay with that. The other side to your point is what makes an incident. Then maybe it gets to the point where maybe you do need to throw all of the hey, I got this DDoS attack. Hey, I got this DDoS attack. And then they come back with, okay, well, here's the exact amount. Maybe it's a financial loss or some sort of security threshold. The other side is, hey, you have a written incident report, right? Or it is contacting government agencies on there. I mean, it should be. So maybe you need to revise that.
I'm staring at my Ubiquity threats right now, and I have 112 critical attacks. Now they're all fended off. It just says, hey, these were the attempts. Well, not that I know of. So do I report that 112 times? Because per Ubiquity, these are critical. But you hit something on the head, which was the implications that this can have on insurance. That's where things get really, really sticky. And I'm interested to see how this plays out. I love that CISA is getting involved. They're implementing regulations. They're implementing standardized processes. I don't know how this is going to ripple out. And more importantly, out of everything, what the covered versus uncovered entities will actually result in. I'm interested to see how that plays out. But one thing I am absolutely convinced of is that best practices, critical. Keeping your passwords hidden, critical. Microsoft is not helping with one or both of those in some capacity, and I think that's your next story. So let's talk about it.
Well, now that you mention it, I do have the article here. So in my first article here from TechCrunch.com, Microsoft employees exposed internal passwords and a security lapse. Written by Zach Whitaker, Microsoft addressed a security lapse where internal files and credentials were exposed online. Security researchers from SOC Radar found an open Azure storage server containing information related to Microsoft's Bing, including password and keys. The server lacked password protection, posing a risk of unauthorized access. In addition, the exposed data could aid malicious actors in identifying or accessing other Microsoft internal files, potentially leading to more significant data leaks. Microsoft was informed of this issue on February 6th and secured the files 1 month later on March 5th. Although Microsoft did not comment at first, they later stated that the exposed credentials were temporary and only accessible from internal networks. This incident adds to previous security concerns at Microsoft, including employees exposing network logins and a breach involving China-backed hackers. So we preach basic cybersecurity hygiene all the time, and it's just, you don't have servers accessible by public. You don't have passwords stored on those public accessible. And we have a tech giant who just really needs to go back to the basics here. I mean, how many times do they have to learn this lesson?
So when I talk to people about security, and for those of you out there who don't know me, I just talk about technology stuff. minimal experience. But I do have a little experience in security and email, those two particular things. People are fascinated when I talk about security. And it's not because I understand, the intricacies of, a micro-segmented, authentication process to control blast radiuses and blah, 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 a lot of hand-wavy stuff. I dazzle them with the basics, the basic best practices, because those are the things that everyone skips over. And when you start there, and you should always start there, you will be fascinated at how much you can cover with minimal effort. Now, when you do that, because it is, I don't want to say frictionless, but it is almost effortless to implement things that everyone kind of understands, and you create a framework, a process that is very predictable to move forward. With your customer, you have now established credibility, a successful history, and confidence in suggestions moving forward. As opposed to creating some, hey, we're going to talk about load balanced architectures and the hyper micro segmented air gapped components, and they're going to look at you and you're explaining gravity to a chicken. If you talk about best practices, as you were just mentioning, it is fascinatingly effective. So for the MSP community, I am literally saying the things that you all know, you all hear every single day. I'm just reminding you it actually works. So in this case, Josh, when we talk about, hypothetically, what are the chances of this actually happening? But a complete overhaul in the practices and possibly the security infrastructure as Microsoft knows it today. Do you believe something like that will have an impact? Or do you think that we should continue to just repair the existing infrastructure? Is there something systemically wrong?
Well, you said it, you just go to the basics and you just treat your technology like you would anything else. Like, this isn't a server. This is your car. If you don't want people to break into it, don't leave your garage open, right? The server was open to the public, so the garage was open. Okay, well, if your garage is open, lock the damn door, right? Well, they didn't have a lock on it, right? So it's just taking these things that you do in everyday life and just applying them to technology. There's no magic behind it. There's no difference. So it's just, it just takes continual awareness and continuing education. There's no... And don't get me wrong, a lot of that cybersecurity, fighting off the hackers, you put the hoodie on and you're coding in a dark room. That stuff's really fascinating. It's cool. And I can get into it. We can get into the intricacies of different compliance frameworks and really nerd out on it. But at the end of the day, what's way more effective is just talking about simple things that you can do right away. Like, if you might not be able to air gap or understand what that is, but I guarantee that you can use MFA or close.
Before we get into the next story, because I want to talk about something, I'm looking at a note here that I just sent one of my lead engineers. It's the CSRB review of summer 2023, which is the MEO intrusion final 508c.pdf. If you Google it, you'll probably find it. It's all about Microsoft's hack. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is the stuff I think about, everyone. I'm really just injecting the paranoia for you to understand what we talk about every day. One of the lines in here is that it said, quote, in fact, when combined with another flaw in Microsoft's authentication system, the key that was taken by Storm 0558, which we've talked about here on this show, Chinese state-backed hacking group, the key permitted Storm 0558 to gain full access to essentially any Exchange Online account anywhere in the world. I need you to understand the gravity of that statement. When we talk about security, it's not do one thing and then move on. We talked about CVEs. We just don't have enough. They're so backlogged. And one of the things I brought up during the show was, I'm not worried about the critical ones. Critical ones are, what about the combination of a few medium ones? And this article that just came out I think it was March 3rd or March 4th, talked about it in detail. So circling back, and we'll jump into the next story. I need everyone to understand, start with the basics. I promise you, it will do amazing things. And it will also give you a very nice path forward to other really cool stuff. So
in the meantime, I mean, what can we do? It's like we can't just not use Microsoft, right? But wouldn't it be cool if you had a list of things that were used with technology?
You're talking about ingredients. Yes, let's talk about them. Knowing the ingredients of what you're eating, kind of important. In fact, in a story from Engadget.com, the U.S. has proposed a bill that AI companies list what copyrighted materials they are using. In a story from Sarah Fielding, U.S. Congressman Adam Schiff proposed the Generative AI Copyright Disclosure Act, which could mandate that AI companies disclose all copyright works in their datasets to address the use of copyrighted materials in AI training. Schiff emphasized balancing AI's potential with ethical guidelines and creator protections. If passed, companies must report data use to the Copyright Office before releasing AI tools publicly, with fines for noncompliance. While the bill won't prevent using copyrighted work, it aims for transparency. In addition, it could also aid companies and artists in addressing copyright infringement issues. The entertainment industry, particularly musicians, is advocating for AI safeguards to protect creativity and artist rights. Schiff's proposal aligns with California's efforts to safeguard creative industries, and industries like RIAA, SAG-AFTRA, and WGA support the bill. So, Josh, knowing what you're eating is important for a variety of reasons. We are now looking at a less tangible, more digital version of that. And it affects the very thing that we all just talked about for the last 2 to 3 years, with SAG going on strikes and there's no new shows coming out because the Writers Guild and the actors are saying, absolutely not, absolutely not, absolutely not. You need to protect me from AI. We need to retain our ownership of this data. The artists, which said specifically musicians, are saying the exact same thing. Are we now on the precipice, or are we much further along of AI being not just mainstream, but having just as many problems as it causes benefits to those out there that's consuming it? What are your thoughts on this?
I think we're still kind of in the mix, kind of in the middle. I mean, if we're going to talk about AI is taking over our jobs, then we should just be able to be free and do our art. Well, the AI does all of the hard, the hard labor and things, and we just all live in a nice commune and play our songs and watch movies together, right? That's the dream. But we're a long ways from getting there. It's interesting because it is nice to show, like, the key point to this is the bill's not preventing using copyrighted work, but it aims for the transparency, which I think is the important part, right? It's not preventing anything. It's just giving credit where credit is due. So I don't think it's going to push anyone back, and I don't understand why anyone would be against it, unless they're obviously the trying to use it for nefarious reasons and take somebody's work and try to pass it off on their own. But again, you're still being able to train the AI on the copyrighted material. You're still being able to utilize it for whatever Creative Commons and things like that. Same thing with you're uploading like a YouTube video as a parody. You're covered under the parody laws or whatever they may be, right? You're still able to use everything. You're still able to train it and grow it. It's just you're properly giving credit for it. So I just think it's honestly the luck catching up to the AI in this case.
I absolutely agree with you on this. I feel like, and I don't have a well-crafted, presentable opinion yet, but my instincts tell me that if we don't get ahead of this fire, it is going to burn out of control. And I don't think there will be ability to stop it because of precedent and everything else in the legal processes that are currently in place. And I think establishing those legal guidelines is critical for us. But the important part is, if we do this correctly, this bill that's starting in California, from what I understand, is then going to propagate throughout the United States, possibly as a global standard for AI consumption models and the large language models that are the driving force behind them in the training process. However, what happens when the initial training process is no longer required? Meaning the initial, do you understand what I'm saying? So for example, you can open up ChatGPT to the web and it can go research and it will learn from the research out on the web. How are you going to track that? How are you going to report against that? I just don't see this as a scalable solution. I love the beginning part of it, but I just don't think that they thought it through, because if you can't explain it, you don't understand it. But once you understand the mechanics of something, the anatomy of it, you can manage it. In this case, the people creating the bill don't understand the mechanics of it. Consequently, managing it is going to be very predictable. So that is my concern. What I would like to hear back from is, the MSP community. Let's talk about all the MSPs that are out there in the forums, understanding here's what I'm doing in best practice. Here's what I'm doing for a core technology stack. And here's how I treat my customers. And here's the regulations that I'm adhering to with these particular tools. The AI tools can go out, find that, and then implement their own best practices, which not only is what you just said, but a combination of everyone else, and put it together in a very well-crafted, beautifully orchestrated presentation for your competitor. But does that concern you? Maybe it doesn't. This is where I'm going. So I'm not talking about what's happening now. I'm not talking about what's kind of next in this bill. I'm talking about what's happening after that. And that right there, in my opinion, should concern everyone. I would love the MSP's feedback. We have amazing Discord. We have email. We've got a variety of other links. I would love to hear from you. But in the meantime, you know what? I think we got some notables we got to cover.
On my first notable mention from Ars Technica, Google Cloud unveils custom ARM processor for enhanced performance and efficiency. This marks Google's first foray into data center CPUs, following a trend set by competitors like Amazon and Microsoft. Google claims ASCII delivers industry-leading performance and energy efficiency, boasting a 50% performance improvement and a whopping 60% boost in energy efficiency compared to current options. While the chip itself won't be available for direct purchase, Google Cloud will be offering processing power through its various services like Google Compute Engine and Kubernetes Engine. This translates to potentially lower costs for users billed by virtual CPU usage. Internally, Google is already migrating key services such as BigQuery and YouTube Ads to leverage ASCII's power. This move might seem counterintuitive for cloud services that aim to remove hardware complexities from users. However, Google assures that existing services will continue to run smoothly as they transition to the new chip behind the scenes. ASCII virtual machines will be available for preview in the coming months, so interested cloud customers can sign up for early access. In my next notable mention from VentureBeat.com, OpenAI makes ChatGPT Turbo with Vision generally available through its API. Previously, developers needed separate models for text and image processing. Now, a single API call lets you leverage GPT-4's Turbo combined capabilities for tasks like image analysis and reasoning. This simplifies workflows and boosts app efficiency. The move comes with additional benefits, allowing it to work with a broader range of information, increased affordability, and enhanced workflow. Some companies are already empowering their developers to create innovative applications such as automated coding, visual food analysis, and a drawing-to-website tool. While GPT-4 Turbo may not top the latest benchmarks, OpenAI's wider availability strengthens their position in the AI race. This move should keep developers engaged as they await OpenAI's next-generation large language model.
In my first notable mention from bleepingcomputer.com, Microsoft fixes 2 Windows 0 days exploited in malware attacks. A story from Sergio Gatlan. Microsoft has addressed 2 actively exploited 0-day vulnerabilities during the April 2024 Patch Tuesday. The first, CVE 2024-26234, is a proxy driver spoofing vulnerability discovered by Sophos XOps and reported by Christopher Budd. It involves malicious drivers signed with a valid Microsoft certificate, initially labeled as Catalog Authentication Client Service by Catalog Valence. The file was later discovered to be bundled with marketing software known as LAIXI, that's L-A-I-X-I, Android Screen Monitoring. Despite Sophos' inability to authenticate the legitimacy of LAIXI software, Budd maintains that the file operates as a malicious backdoor. The second vulnerability, that's CVE 2024-29988, reported by Trend Micro and Google researchers, enables attackers to deploy malware on Windows systems by bypassing security mechanisms through smart screen prompt security features. Aside from addressing the 2 0 days, Microsoft released security updates for 150 vulnerabilities, 67 of which were remote code execution bugs. In my next notable mention from VentureBeat.com, Apple's $25 to $50 million Shutterstock deal highlights fierce competition for AI training data. Apple has entered a major deal with Shutterstock, estimated between $25 and $50 million US, to access millions of images for its AI training. This move reflects fierce competition among tech giants like Apple, Meta, Google, and Amazon for vast data sets. Furthermore, such agreements highlight the growing demand for AI training data, with prices ranging from $1 to $2, that's US, per image to $100 to $300 per hour of film. However, there are concerns about data privacy as big tech companies use large amounts of data online, including copyrighted material to train AI models. And demand for licensing and legal debates reveal the complexity of AI data issues. Still, even with these challenges, companies continue to invest in AI, expecting significant growth in the market.
Amazon once pitched us on the vision of the future where shopping was as simple as walking into a store, grabbing what you need, and just walking out with no lines and no checkout. And that dream was seemingly brought to life by Amazon's Just Walk Out technology, a blend of AI that promised a seamless shopping experience. But as we peel back the layers, a more complex story unfolds, one that intertwines cutting-edge technology with a substantial human element. Amazon Fresh, the company's grocery chain, became a pioneer in cashierless technology, allowing customers to enjoy a hassle-free shopping experience. The idea was simple yet revolutionary. Through a network of sensors, cameras, and AI, Amazon aimed to eliminate the friction of traditional shopping, tracking what shoppers took off shelves and charging them accordingly. However, recent revelations have exposed a significant twist in this narrative: the technology's reliance on human intervention, specifically a large team based in India tasked with reviewing transactions to ensure the AI's billing accuracy. This surprising dependency on manual labor has stirred a conversation around the effectiveness and reliability of AI in retail. Despite the advanced technology underpinning Just Walk Out, reports indicate that a substantial portion of sales, about 700 out of every 1,000 in 2022, required human review. This figure starkly contrasts with Amazon's internal goal of limiting manual checks to just 50 out of 1,000 sales, highlighting a gap between the aspiration and the reality of AI-driven automation. Lots of amazing events coming up in the MSP community, so let's see what's happening next week. Starting on Wednesday, the 17th of April, running through the 18th, an in-person event, ASCII Edge in Newark, New Jersey. And then also on Thursday the 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Huntress Fireside Chat, Cyberinsurance office hours. And then another one on Thursday the 18th, an in-person event, the Enable Roadshow in Toronto. And coming from the MSP Media Network this week, we have, just a little bit later today at 11 o'clock, MSP Community Live is back for episode 31. And then on Saturday at 10 a.m., we have a standalone episode of MSP Dispatch for you. And then, not to be missed, next week on Wednesday the 17th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, AI Roundup will be back for episode 69.
So how'd you like today's show? If you like it, please hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't like it, make sure you hit it an odd number of times so you can show us how much you didn't like it, but we actually still get the credit, which would really be good for both parties, and you know that's really good. If you want to hear more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher. And did you know that we have a Discord where we post these stories all week long? You can propose stories for us and even vote on which ones we should cover in the next show. As our friend Rich Banky says, make sure you tell a friend. And don't forget to look at us on social media at MSP Media TV. If you have any questions, don't freak out. We've got an email address. It's news@mspmedia.tv for answers on the next episode. We will read them out loud. And you just call us and leave us a voicemail at 833 MSP Network. Josh, I cannot thank you enough for hosting today. This was awesome seeing you, meeting you actually in person, kind of in person, because I'm like,
Yep.
Soon. Right there. So why don't you go ahead and give us your final thoughts, and we'll land this plane.
It was a lot of fun. I'm glad I was able to hop on. So I will always shout out the MSP Media Network, the Discord server that we have. The next Monday is our next peer group meeting. So if you would like to come see our faces and hang out in there and get to talk to us in real time, join that Discord.
I love that. For everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us. Please be safe and stay educated.
This has been a broadcast of the MSP Media Network.
The proposed Cyber Incident Report Critical Infrastructure Act, that's CIRCIA, mandates reporting. The entertainment issue, particularly. The entertainment issue. And